Welcome to the English Boost podcast. It is a universally acknowledged truth that the person you are at 8 in the morning is just fundamentally not the same person you are at 11 at night.
Oh, absolutely not. They don't even know each other.
Right. Like morning you is ambitious, morning you has hope, and, well, a color-coordinated calendar, and this genuine, almost naive belief that today is the day everything finally changes.
Yeah, but then night you shows up.
Exactly. Night you has snacks, night you has a glowing screen and a sudden intense interest in random internet rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Absolutely zero intention of going to sleep.
It really is the ultimate human contradiction. We sit down and we make these beautifully structured, highly logical plans when we feel rested and caffeinated.
Right. The coffee does a lot of the heavy lifting there.
Oh, for sure. But then inevitably real life actually shows up. And real life is messy, it's weird, and it is deeply neurologically exhausting.
Yeah, that exhaustion and that huge gap between our morning plans and our evening reality is exactly what we were exploring today. We've got our hands on an incredibly insightful audio source.
It really is a fascinating piece of material.
It is. Now, on the surface, this material is designed to help you, the listener, absorb everyday English conversation.
Yeah.
But underneath, it is an absolute masterclass in behavioral psychology.
Yeah, it tackles that really messy, real-world struggle of building healthy routines, and it connects it seamlessly to the process of mastering a language.
Which is such a cool connection. So, our mission today is to decode the hidden emotional drivers behind your daily choices. We want to figure out why we fall into these traps.
Yeah.
And, of course, naturally pick up some powerful English vocabulary along the way.
10 specific phrases, actually.
Right, 10 phrases. And I promise you, listening to this right now, this is not going to be a guilt trip. I am not going to sit here and lecture you about drinking a gallon of water or joining the 5 a.m. club.
Nobody needs another lecture about that.
Exactly. We are just taking an honest look at how tiny choices shape the architecture of your actual identity.
The connection the source draws between language acquisition and habit formation is such a fascinating entry point. It begins with a really simple observation about the act of listening. Because when you are learning a language, there are these long stretches where your progress feels, well, totally invisible.
Oh, yeah. You feel like you're just stumbling, right? Like you aren't speaking fast enough or you just can't recall the words.
Exactly. But the source points out that active listening is never just doing nothing. When you immerse yourself, your brain is quietly doing all the heavy lifting in the background.
Like it's working overtime even when you don't realize it.
Right. You are absorbing the rhythm, the syntax, the natural cadence of the language. Those neural pathways are forming deeply, even if you can't actually hear the results out loud yet.
Okay, wait, let's actually unpack this for a second. Because that invisible, quiet absorption, that sounds exactly like how behavioral habits take root in the background.
It's the exact same mechanism, yeah.
So, the source argues that habits become infinitely stronger when they transition from being just a temporary action to an actual shift in identity.
Right, it's a huge mindset shift.
Yeah, so instead of saying, I'm trying to be healthier this week, which honestly just sounds like a miserable temporary chore.
It sounds exhausting.
It does. You start saying, I am someone who takes care of my body. But I have to be honest here. I really struggle with this concept.
How so?
Well, is claiming a new identity before you have actually mastered the habit just, lying to yourself?
I can see why it feels that way.
Right. It feels like putting on a doctor's coat and walking around a hospital before you've even taken a single biology class.
Yeah.
Like, are we essentially just faking it?
You know what's genuinely fascinating here is the underlying psychological mechanism. Because it is not about delusion at all.
Okay.
It is absolutely not pretending you have a medical degree. It's about cognitive dissonance.
Interesting. How did that work?
Well, when you shift your internal narrative to, I'm a person who values my health, your brain naturally wants your actions to align with that new belief to avoid mental friction.
Oh, I see. So it's trying to resolve the conflict.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are shifting the mindset so your daily choices become highly intentional.
Intentional. Okay, that's our first vocabulary word. Doing something on purpose with full awareness.
Right. You aren't just reacting randomly to whatever stress the day throws at you. You are making choices intentionally with full awareness of who you actually want to be.
Okay, so making an intentional choice is basically deciding that you are the one driving the car, rather than just being dragged along the pavement behind it.
That is a great way to put it.
I can see how that reduces the friction. You aren't forcing an action, you're just acting in accordance with your new self-image.
Exactly.
But, that brings up a massive glaring issue for me.
What's that?
If deciding on this intentional identity is so powerful, why do our grand plans still completely fall apart by Thursday?
Ah, the Thursday slump.
Right. Why am I still fully capable of eating an entire sleeve of cookies at midnight, even if I was very intentional at breakfast?
It's a fair question.
The source gives an answer that actually took a lot of the guilt off my shoulders. It says, the problem isn't a broken moral character. The problem is the physical space we live in.
The source makes a brilliant point here about the illusion of information. Most of us operate under this assumption that if we just knew better, we would do better.
Like we just need more data.
Right. But nobody hears the phrase, vegetables are good for you, and gasps, whispering, wow, I need to write that down. This changes everything.
Yeah, nobody is surprised by broccoli.
Exactly. We already know sleep is important. We know movement matters. The disconnect isn't a lack of knowledge. It's the friction of the environment.
The environment.
Yeah. When your environment is actively working against your biology, knowledge just doesn't stand a chance.
The imagery the source uses for this is hilarious, but painfully accurate.
Oh, the biscuits.
Yes. They describe walking into the kitchen and seeing a clear glass jar of biscuits sitting right there on the counter. And they refer to them as confident little villains.
Confident little villains. It's so good.
It is. And then there's the phone sitting right next to your pillow, glowing in the dark, which they call a toxic bedtime companion.
It completely shifts how you view your surroundings, doesn't it?
It really does.
Mhm.
The failure isn't your lack of discipline. It's that your environment is highly detrimental to your goals.
Detrimental. There's our second word, meaning harmful in a quiet, gradual way.
Right, detrimental. The setup itself is quietly, gradually harming your ability to focus.
And it's the gradual nature of it that's so dangerous. Something detrimental rarely looks like a sudden dramatic explosion that ruins your life overnight.
No, it's sneaky.
Exactly. It's the constant low-level temptation, the constant buzz of notifications, the sheer availability of an easy distraction. These things just slowly erode your focus over the course of 14 waking hours.
I hear that, I really do.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to push back on this a little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
Because if I sit here and blame my kitchen counter for my diet, isn't that just a really convenient excuse for having zero willpower?
I see where you're coming from.
I mean, it sounds a bit like blaming the ocean because you forgot how to swim. If I know the biscuits are bad for me, shouldn't I just try harder to walk past them? Am I completely helpless here?
It is deeply ingrained in us to think that way, that raw effort should just conquer all. But cognitive neuroscience tells a completely different story.
Really?
Yeah. Willpower is not a character trait. It is a heavily limited biological resource. It relies on your prefrontal cortex.
Okay.
Think of it like a battery that drains every single time you make a decision, regulate an emotion, or resist a temptation throughout the day.
Oh, so it's physically depleting.
Exactly.
That's
If your
bad.
environment is filled with those confident little villains, you are forcing your brain to spend precious energy making the hard choice every single time you walk into the kitchen. So by 8 p.m., that battery is just completely dead. Re-engineering your environment, putting the phone in another room, keeping the snacks out of sight, that isn't a weak excuse.
It's a strategy.
It is the smartest, kindest approach.
Yeah.
Because you are removing the need for willpower altogether. You aren't fighting the ocean, you're just getting out of the water.
Okay, that actually completely changes the paradigm for me. You're just taking the friction out of the good choice and adding a wall of friction in front of the bad choice.
Exactly.
But if our environment is so saturated with these detrimental temptations, we have to look deeper at the demand side of the equation.
What do you mean?
Well, why are we so easily tempted by them in the first place?
Yeah.
What is the actual reward my brain is getting when I reach for the phone at midnight?
Ah, right.
The source shares an anecdote about this that is almost too relatable.
The famous Finnish cabin video.
Yes. Oh my gosh. The story of making a very mature, very serious pledge to prioritize your sleep. You get into bed at 10 p.m. feeling incredibly responsible.
You're doing everything right.
Right. And then somehow, time just warps. Suddenly, it is 12:47 a.m.
Always a very specific, terrible time.
Always. You are wide awake in the dark, gripping your phone like your life depends on it, utterly paralyzed in a trance watching a 45-minute silent video of a man building a wooden cabin in a freezing Finnish forest.
It's incredibly specific.
And the kicker is, you don't live in Finland, you don't know how to use a saw, and you actively hate mosquitoes.
It paints a very funny picture, definitely, but the psychological analysis the source pulls from it is profound.
Yeah, it really is.
We heavily stigmatize bad habits as being purely driven by hedonism, this idea that we are just seeking cheap pleasure.
Right, like we're just party animals.
Exactly. But more often than not, these behaviors are emotional coping tools. When we are lonely, overwhelmed, or dealing with the severe cognitive fatigue of modern work, the brain isn't actually looking for a party.
What is it looking for?
It's looking for anesthesia. It wants numbness. So many people are pushing themselves relentlessly, essentially burning the candle at both ends.
Burning the candle at both ends. That's our third phrase. Meaning using too much energy without getting enough rest.
Right. People are expending massive amounts of energy at work, at home, dealing with the news, and functioning without any adequate rest.
Ah,
hmm
it's exhausting just thinking about it.
And from the outside, they look incredibly productive. But internally, their nervous system is in a state of constant alarm. So the phone screen provides this low-stakes, predictable stream of dopamine that temporarily soothes the amygdala.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. The source uses this vivid metaphor of an umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
If these so-called bad habits, the late-night doom scrolling, the mindless snacking, the binge watching, if those are our umbrellas during a highly stressful time, aren't they technically keeping us dry?
That's a great point.
Aren't they actually helping us survive a day when we've been burning the candle at both ends?
That is such a vital perspective to bring to the table. Yes, they absolutely serve a purpose, and we really have to stop shaming ourselves for utilizing them.
Right, they're tools.
They provide immediate temporary relief from an overwhelming reality. But here is the critical, unavoidable cost. Tomorrow always has to pay the bill.
Oh, that's heavy.
That relief is essentially a payday loan with a massive physiological interest rate. If you try to brutally force yourself to stop the habit, if you just aggressively snatch away your own umbrella without understanding the emotional need underneath it.
Without doing anything to stop the rain.
Exactly. If you don't stop the rain, another bad habit is simply going to take its place. Your brain will demand a new way to cope because the underlying exhaustion, that core stress, just hasn't been addressed at all.
So the rain is still falling. We reach for these emotional umbrellas so frequently because modern life is basically a constant manufactured thunderstorm.
That's the precise context the source wants us to grasp.
It is an ecosystem perfectly designed to keep us exhausted and reaching for easy, numbing distractions.
Right. Modern society financially incentivizes and rewards deeply unhealthy patterns. We are culturally pushed to sit more, to consume more, to be constantly available, to reply to emails instantly.
It's just relentless.
Distraction is no longer an accident. It is the absolute default setting of the modern world. Think about it. Your phone is never going to pop up with a mindful notification asking, are you sure you want to lose 45 minutes of your precious life watching someone carve wood?
I wish it would, honestly.
But it won't.
Yeah.
Instead, the algorithms are engineered to offer you 3 more perfectly tailored videos that will effortlessly hijack your attention when your defenses are lowest.
And because we live in that constant thunderstorm, when we finally get fed up and decide to get healthy, we tend to completely overcorrect.
Oh, massively.
We don't just want to be better, we try to become bulletproof superheroes overnight. The source highlights this by telling a story about attempting one of those mythical perfect morning routines you see online.
We've all seen them.
You know the exact type.
Okay.
Waking up before the sun, meditating in complete silence, writing 3 pages of profound thoughts in a journal, doing a complex mobility flow, and then meticulously decorating a bowl of yogurt with rare seeds.
It sounds like a full-time job.
It does. And the result of all that effort. By day 3, the person was exhausted, incredibly behind on their actual work schedule, and quite literally just angry at oats.
Angry at oats. That is perhaps the most brilliant, specific description of adult burnout I've ever heard.
It's perfect.
It perfectly captures the pure absurdity of aiming for an aesthetic fantasy life instead of designing a routine for your actual messy life.
Yeah.
To combat this default setting of extreme distraction and extreme overambition, the source introduces a much gentler concept, learning to cut back on things.
Cut back on. That's our 4th phrase, meaning to reduce to a healthier amount.
Exactly. So instead of declaring you will never eat sugar again or throwing your smartphone into the nearest river, you simply reduce the detrimental behavior to a manageable level.
Practice moderation.
Right. Moderation. Word number 5, just meaning balance. You find a middle ground that doesn't trigger your brain's rebellion.
Which makes it sustainable.
Sustainable, yes. Word number 6. able to be continued realistically over time. By doing this, you are building routines that are genuinely sustainable. They are realistic enough that you can carry them out on a random rainy Tuesday when you're tired, not just on a Sunday when you feel highly motivated.
So what does this all mean practically? Because it sounds like you're saying we shouldn't aim high.
Not exactly.
But to me, it feels more like trying to execute a flawless, intense 5 a.m. routine when your nervous system is already fried is like trying to install massive, complex new software on a computer that is currently on fire.
A computer on fire. I love that.
The system literally does not have the bandwidth for that level of self-improvement. It is stuck in survival mode.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the clinical data on behavior change supports your software analogy completely.
Right.
Yeah. A 10-minute imperfect walk around your neighborhood that you actually complete every single day yields infinitely better psychological and physical results than a 1-hour grueling gym session that you keep postponing for a mythical tomorrow when you finally have enough energy.
Because tomorrow never comes.
Exactly. A habit only works, it only sticks if it fits your actual life. It cannot be designed for the version of you who somehow has 2 free hours every morning and infinite patience.
It has to be designed for real you.
It has to be designed to support the tired you, the busy you.
And I think when we finally drop that expectation of perfection, when we find those small, sustainable habits that fit our real lives, they do something so much more important than just making us physically fit or temporarily productive.
They do.
They rebuild something completely invisible. They rebuild the relationship we have with ourselves.
That is the deepest layer of the source material. It brings us to the quiet power of self-trust.
Self-trust.
Every single time you keep a tiny promise to yourself, you are building deep internal authority. If you tell yourself you're going to read 1 page of a book before bed and you actually do it, your brain registers that you are reliable.
You prove it to yourself.
You learn to stick to your commitments.
Stick to. Word number 7, meaning to stay committed to something.
Right. You stick to that small action, even when the initial excitement fades and it gets a little boring. The transformative power isn't in reading the single page. The power is in the irrefutable evidence that you kept your word to yourself.
I have a serious confession to make to you, listening right now.
Oh, all right.
For a long time, I used to be so highly dramatic about my failures.
In what way?
If I promised myself I'd work out 5 days a week and I missed a Tuesday, well, that was it. Game over.
The whole week is ruined.
I felt like my entire character was fundamentally broken. I'd think, well, I failed. The streak is broken. Let's just throw the entire calendar in the trash, eat the rest of the biscuits, and try again next month.
It's the all-or-nothing mindset.
It sounds so absurd when you say it out loud in the cold light of day.
Yeah.
But when you are in it, the shame is so heavy. How do we actually stop this toxic cycle of self-shaming?
The source offers a profoundly comforting, scientifically backed answer to that exact cycle. Healthy people, successful people, are not people who never mess up.
They aren't.
No, that is a total illusion created by social media. Healthy people are simply the people who have mastered the skill of how to get back on track.
Get back on track, our 8th phrase, returning to the right direction.
Exactly. They know how to return to their baseline direction after getting pushed off course by life. The core skill of habit building isn't flawless execution, it is the return.
The return.
It is returning to the path without throwing a parade of shame, without self-punishing drama, and without fully committing your life to the sofa just because you had one off day.
Sofas are very convincing.
They are very convincing, and the dopamine crash from shame will make you want to stay there. But one missed day doesn't overwrite your new identity unless you give it the power to do so.
The skill is not perfection. The skill is the return. That is incredibly powerful.
It changes everything.
Because the moment you remove the shame, you remove the friction of starting again. And this ability to return to our goals without beating ourselves up reveals what I think is the absolute deepest truth in the entire source material.
Which is?
It forces us to take a step back and ask a really foundational question. What is the true purpose of a healthy habit in the first place?
So many people start their personal development journeys from a place of deep frustration or even self-loathing. They use this cold, highly critical, hyper-efficient internal voice to try and fix their perceived flaws through immense pressure. The tone is harsh.
It's like having a bully in your head.
But the source points out that biologically this backfires entirely because chronic internal punishment creates cortisol. It creates stress.
And what do human nervous systems do when they are stressed?
They run directly back to those emotional coping mechanisms.
The late night scrolling,
hmm
the sugar.
The exact things you were trying to escape. It becomes a closed, miserable loop.
Right, because your brain is just seeking comfort from the bully that lives inside your own head.
Exactly.
So if punishment actively causes us to fail, what is the alternative? The source introduces this incredibly beautiful concept that our habits must be restorative.
Restorative, phrase number 9, meaning helping you recover energy and calm.
Right. A restorative routine is one that actually helps you recover. It deposits something back into your physical and mental bank account. It doesn't just demand relentless performance and withdrawal.
It gives back to you.
When your habits are rooted in a place of genuine self-respect rather than self-hatred, you develop something much stronger than discipline. You become resilient.
Resilient, our final vocabulary word, able to recover after difficulty.
And the visual metaphor the source provides to illustrate resilience is just stunning.
The tree and the stone.
Yes, we often picture strength as being hard, like a stone statue. A stone statue looks invincible, impenetrable.
But the problem with stone is that it has no give.
Exactly. If it gets hit hard enough by a storm, it shatters. And once it shatters, it's completely finished. It cannot put itself back together.
But true resilience is being like a tree.
A tree is deeply rooted, but it bends with the weather. It sways with the wind.
It adapts.
It might lose its leaves in a harsh season. It might lose a branch. But because it is flexible and alive, it recovers, it adapts to the soil, and it grows back.
It's a beautiful way to look at it.
I want you to think about that right now, wherever you are listening to this. Think about your own daily goals, the rules you've set for yourself, your own routines. Are they turning you into a rigid, stressed-out stone statue that is terrified of shattering if you miss a single workout?
Or are they turning you into a flexible tree that can bend with a messy, exhausting week and still keep growing? That truly synthesizes the ultimate takeaway of this entire exploration. Health, whether it's mental, physical, or linguistic, is not a punishment plan for being an imperfect human.
It's not.
It is simply a care plan. It is a care plan for a human being who is tired, who is overstimulated, and who is just trying to navigate a very messy modern world. It's about learning to look after your own life a little better, one small intentional choice at a time.
So let's take a look at the incredible ground we've covered today.
We went pretty deep.
We did. We started by understanding the quiet, neurological power of intentional listening and how claiming a new identity reduces the friction of our choices. We learned to stop relying on a draining willpower battery to fight the confident little villains in our environment.
We uncovered the emotional exhaustion and the need for soothing that hides behind our worst late-night habits.
Right. And we learned to stop aiming for mythical 5 a.m. routines that just leave us angry at oats. And instead, we are aiming for sustainable restorative care plans that allow us to get back on track without triggering a massive shame spiral.
And along the way, we've naturally integrated some brilliant English vocabulary right into our mental dictionary.
Yes, we did.
And please remember, the goal isn't to walk away from this conversation and suddenly enact a flawless, unbroken routine. The goal is just to observe yourself with a little more curiosity and to care for yourself a little more honestly today than you did yesterday.
Exactly. So I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over on your own. Tonight, or maybe tomorrow night, when you inevitably find yourself doom-scrolling late in the dark, staring blankly while the rest of the world sleeps.
It happens to all of us.
It does. I want you to just pause. Don't judge yourself. Just ask yourself, what specific feeling, what specific emotional relief is my tired brain actually searching for in that glowing screen?
That's the real question.
And is there a way, no matter how small, that you could intentionally give that exact feeling of comfort to yourself tomorrow morning? Until next time, keep bending like the trees.